No one wants to hear about Toni Ventura's heart attack. I'd rather send out a message to the wonderful people who made it all happen for me. Scorpion Television, Channel Movies, KDKN Radio, and my favorite film producer, Kenneth Howard Smith, who supported me for the past 20 years, who presented the music industry a valuable and very important video of I Promise to Remember, the Frankie Lyman story and the genius of Mr. Goldner. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you so much. Mrs. Grace Goldner's legacy is very vital for the music industry, the rock and roll music industry. By the way, Toni Ventura is not trying to sugarcoat anything in my story. I don't have to, because I saw it back then. I heard it back then. And I lived it back then. My beloved Aunt Gracie Goldner passed away on May 16th, 3 months ago. In the clipping, it reads, homemaker. But the truth is, she was a Latin woman in George Goldner's life, the mother of his 3 children, Carrie, Bonnie, and Mona. Aunt Grace was the beautiful Puerto Rican girl from Brooklyn, New York, who captured George Goldner's heart. No wonder George Goldner said when he saw her, "That's the Latin bombshell I'm gonna marry." Grace Goldner lit up the stage, dancing with the king of salsa, Tito Puente and his orchestra, the king of Latin music, and known all over the world. Aunt Gracie, all her life, had the desire and the passion for the love of music and dream of becoming a dancer. And what a dancer she was. Her passion was mambo and cha-cha, flamenco, belly dancing. And what a show she put on at the New York Palladium Ballroom. Grace Goldner led her husband, George Goldner, into the Latino music industry. George became a lover of Latin music, hanging out with his dearest close friends, Tito Puente, Miguelito Valdez, Willie Colon, Johnny Pacheco. And my aunt hung out too with her best friend, girlfriend, Ida. And because of his love for Latino music, Tico label was founded. And Tito Puente was the very first to record on George's Tico label. George Goldner's niece, I need to salute the legendary Latino artists, the magnificent legends of Latin music. Machito, Miguelito Valdez, Tito Rodriguez, Johnny Rodriguez, Joe Loco, the master of merengue, Toni Ventura, Pete Terrace, Eddie Palmieri, Johnny Pacheco, Joe Batan, Frankie Dante and his orchestra, La Lupe, Graciela, Celia Cruz, La India, Pupi Campo. I mean, my Latin list is endless. Please forgive me if I didn't mention your name. You know who you are, and you're a legend with no doubt. And I want to say a little story and tell everybody about George Goldner's record label, Juanita. I'd like to tell you how it started. It's a quick story, but a good, true story. Well, George Goldner's brother-in-law, Tito Trump, which is my uncle, Grace Goldner's brother, wanted to try a hand in the music business. And so he went to George and he says, hey, I'd like to try the music business. George said, sure. But the first you need is a label, okay? So Uncle Tito said, well, I have a name for my label already. He said, what is it? So he said, Juanita. George said, "That's a great name. I named it after my wife, Juanita." Juanita was a beautiful Spaniard from Galicia. Una gallega de Galicia. She was beautiful. And that's how Juanita label got its name, Juanita. My Uncle Tito's wife. He left the music industry, went into something else, and he handed the label over to George. That's how George got Juanita label, because Uncle Tito handed the label Juanita over to Uncle George. Uncle George did wonders for Juanita label. I mean, he's a hit maker, whatever, you know, but he did wonders for Juanita label. Recorded the legendary vocal tones, Walking with My Baby, Wanna Leave, Louis Lyman and the Teen Chords, Them Their Eyes, Dance Girl too. And then, of course, Johnny Maestro, the Brooklyn Bridge, the Crest. Also, I have to mention Raul Donna, the rockabilly Raul Donna. You remember Raul Donna? He was a wonderful rockabilly singer. He recorded for George on Juanita label. You know, he was a legend to me. And it's a little sad, it's a sad story how I got to talk on the phone with Raul Donna. I found his number. Raul Donna, he records for George. So I called him up. And I told him who I was. And he was so hysterical. Oh my God, George Goldner's niece. Oh my, how I love George Goldner. How I love to be recording for George. Oh, how I miss George. And he kept, saying all these wonderful things about George, and to me, why, thank you, and please call me again. I want to talk to you again. He says, because I have cancer. I said, I will call you again. But when I called him, it was too late. He was gone. So Raul Donna recorded, the legendary Raul Donna recorded for Uncle George. So I'd like to pass that on.
You don't know what you've got until you lose it. You gave me all your love, but I abused it. And now I'm sorry for the things I didn't say, 'cause I know now I acted in a foolish way.
And my Rafaela Mercado, my condolences go out to Mercado family. What can I say about my little Ralphie? We grew up together. We lived in the same neighborhood. We went to the same school, Ralphie and I. He had a friend, I remember. He was a great conga player. His name was Bang Bang, they named him. I remember Ralphie sitting with his grandmother near his window, waiting for me to come around the corner so he can see me and talk to me. And we were the same age. Ralphie Mercado had a sweetheart crush on me before Carolyn Blaze. He would call out the window, Toni, Toni, I saw you on Alan Free's dance show. He was so excited when he saw me. He kept saying out loud from his window, Toni, Toni, someday I'm going to be like your famous Uncle George Goldner. You watch and see. And his dream came true. My little Ralphie passed away in 2009. Ralphie Mercado became a hero to the Latin music industry, a famous salsa producer, promoter, confidant and manager to Tito Puente. He also shaped careers of young superstars like Mark Anthony. He promoted R&B acts like James Brown, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Stylistics. Oh boy, the Stylistics. What beautiful songs they recorded. The Shy Lights, another fabulous group. And he received and was honored for countless awards. He's a pioneer in the music industry. I loved going to his waistline parties on Atlantic Avenue El Barrio, a few blocks where Ralphie and I lived. And what parties they were. Boy, what songs he played. We had a good old rock and roll party. I remember Benny Ortez and his sister Dorothy. And my favorite, Nympha and Alex, her brother. Hello there if you're watching my video. Ralphie Ricardo, I miss you dearly. And the Latin music industry will always remember you. George Golner was also known as the king of doo-wop, the powerhouse, the hitmaker. His partner Artie Ripp said he had the mind of Einstein and the ears of a teenager. He made legends out of Johnny Maestro and the Brooklyn Bridge, 16 Candles in the Crest. He made legends out of Bill Haley and its Comets, Rock Around the Clock. The Shangri-Las, leader of the pack. The Crows, the Harptones, the Dubs. Oh, could this be magic? The Wines, the Vocal Tones, the Chantels. Little Anthony and his Imperials. The Flamencos, I Only Have Eyes for You. And the Gone All-Stars. Remember 7-Eleven? Frankie Valli and his Four Seasons. Louis Lyman. I can go on and on. The Drifters. The Channels. Oh boy, do I remember the Channels. That's Frankie and I's favorite song. We used to dance to the Channels, The Closer You Are. And boy, did he hold me close.
The closer you are, the brighter the stars in the sky.
If you're a lover of doo-wop like I am, and have many collections, you have a gold mine. Hold on to your oldies but goodies, that's for sure. Rock critic Bruce Edner. And I must say, Mr. Edner, you're Toni Ventura George Golner's niece's hero. He noted that George Golner earned the right, I'll repeat that, earned the right to be named the king of doo-wop for his pioneering success with the R&B community. Mr. Edner also wrote, George Golner discovered more talent both in front of a microphone and behind the scenes than most producers get to record in a lifetime. So no matter what it may have been, they still came to Mr. Golner wanting to record for him with a God-given talent of rich and spiritual and gospel sounds to make rock and roll and R&B that will live on generations after generations. George Golner's niece dedicates a story behind a story and a song behind a song to the rock and roll music industry, to Frankie Lyman's devoted fans, and to the rock and roll world. The legacy of my beloved Aunt Gracie, who passed away, like I said, 3 months ago. My story begins this way. Grace Golner is the finder, I'll say it again, the finder of Why Do Fools Fall in Love. So Jimmy and Merchant and Herman Santiago, don't get bent out of shape now. I said the finder, not the founder. You knew my story because I told you. So then George Golner came home from his office, 1650 Broadway, the famous Brow Building in New York. When he came home, Mr. Golner took out a paper with the lyrics of Why Do Fools Fall in Love on it. What had happened, George Golner crumbled the piece of paper and threw it in the trash basket. saying, no, 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 I can't deal with no Board of Education. No Board of Education, no boys. Not just that, the title and the word needs to be changed. No Board of Education, forget it. Then Mrs. Goldner, who has an ear for music anyway, asked, what's wrong, George? Oh, Richard Barrett brought some boys from Harlem to my office today and handed me a paper with lyrics on them. Mona, I can't deal with no Board of Education. So then she went straight to the trash basket looking for that crumbled paper that had Why Do Fools Fall in Love on it. She kept looking and she found it. She took it out of the trash basket and began to read the words out loud. She then said, with her discovery out of the trash basket, she then convinced her husband, George Goldner, and said, George, take these boys into the studio and record them. These lyrics are a hit, George. So Mrs. Grace Goldner is the finder of Why Do Fools Fall in Love. Why? Because if Mrs. Goldner hadn't gone to the trash basket and on from Frankie, I received love letters from Frankie from Norfolk, Virginia, where he was on tour, asking me for my hand in marriage. And I'll never forget the way Frankie used to sign his love letters to me. You're not just a girl, you're my girl.
My girl is a natural beauty, my girl. Ooh, my girl is a genuine cutie, my girl. And there's no other girl in the whole wide world than my girl. Ooh, my girl, made of sugar and spice, that's my girl. Oh, my girl treats me ever so nice, that's my girl. There's no other girl in the whole wide world than my girl.
I would also like to give a sincere mention to John Anthony, President and CEO of Banner Records. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your devoted memories of George Goldner for the past 5 decades. George Goldner inspired and encouraged Mr. Anthony to continue to go forward with his love of music. Mr. Anthony is surely a pioneer in the music industry because of Mr. George Goldner. Mr. Gordine, George Goldner's niece needs very much to thank you for your thoughtfulness, for your loving and kind and sincere words. Mr. Gordine mentioned and said, Mr. Goldner gave us the ability to perform with class and dignity. Thank you, Mr. Gordine. God bless you.
In my heart, caused by you. You. Oh, you.
I would also like to thank a devoted pioneer and icon, Mr. Seymour Stein. Thank you, Mr. Stein, for remembering and mentoring George in your rock and roll stories for the past 5 decades. I thank you with much appreciation. You're a good man, Mr. Seymour Stein. And I need to say that Grace Goldner, she's a songwriter. She wrote Love is a Clown and gave it to George, her husband, to record it for little Frankie Lyman. Everyone remembers Love is a Clown. So my tribute to Mr. and Mrs. Goldner, a story behind a story, a song behind a song, it's put to an end, for now anyway. But I will never forget. You see, I wear a star in my heart for Uncle George and Gracie, forever. But most of all, I am so very, very proud to be Mr. and Mrs. Goldner's favorite niece.
My love must be a kind of blind love. I can't see anyone but you.
Good night, everyone.